This is the Chamberlink, connecting community, creating impact with Tyler Fischbach.
Back to the Chamberlink, everybody. Good morning. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend with friends and family and spent some time on Monday thinking about and honoring those for Memorial Day for those who have served. So welcome back to the work week. This is episode number 3, and I have 3 very special guests with me today. But before we jump into the show, I was thinking about how I wanted to kick this off. And I want to read a quote. And I came across this quote last summer, actually when I was putting together one of our magazines at the Chamber. It was a military magazine, and I was just kind of looking for a way to set the stage in that magazine. And I came across this, and this was from the Secretary of Defense, former Secretary of Defense, Lloyd J. Austin. And I think this must have been 2023 when he said this, and no political statement or anything. It just stood out to me as a quote that I really liked. Quote, 50 years ago, the United States military began to fill its ranks solely with brave Americans who freely choose to defend our republic. Ever since the draft ended on July 1, 1973, Americans have joined our military out of conviction, not compulsion. Over the years, the members of our all-volunteer force have been motivated by patriotism, pride, and principle, by the desire to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and by their love of our exceptional nation. Moving to an all-volunteer force was a bold step. No other military with such formidable capabilities had operated on a volunteer basis. But history has proven the wisdom of relying on our all-volunteer force and the combination of morale and military power that it has brought has strengthened our armed forces. Over the past 5 decades, our military has recruited and retained patriotic and talented personnel from all walks of American life, resulting in a more professional and effective joint force. Today, America's all-volunteer force is the strongest military in human history, and it sets the global standard for military professionalism. As Americans build their lives around a free commitment to military service, they grow into leaders. They hone their skills as soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and guardians, but also as doctors, mechanics, teachers, and computer technicians. And they pass on their knowledge to future generations of service members. The all-volunteer force shows us how Americans can do what Americans can do when we commit ourselves to serve others, give back to our communities, and make our country more secure and more just. The United States has a sacred obligation to take care of every patriot who has ever worn the cloth of our nation, as well as their families. We reaffirm that commitment as we proudly salute each American who selflessly raises their hand to serve our country and defend our republic. Today and every day, the service of the members of our all-volunteer force is a testament to their courage and to the power of our democracy. So again, that was Lloyd Austin, former Secretary of Defense, and I just appreciate that. It's a very straightforward comment, but I think it unpacks really well what it means to serve and what it means to serve and have a life outside of service too, and I think we're really going to get into that conversation today. So allow me to proudly introduce to you our guest of the show today. We have Lieutenant Colonel Alan Rorick, and Alan is with the 144th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade, North Dakota Army National Guard, and sitting next to him, we have Colonel Chris Dimitrovich, 119th Wing Commander. Happy Hooligans, welcome. And to my right, we have Josh Seeley, owner of Deckplate Diesel and a U.S. Navy veteran himself. And I do want to say congrats to you, Josh, for being a finalist of a Chamber Choice Award last week. Small Business of the Year finalist, so congrats. That is no small feat. You should be proud of that, sir.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. And like I mentioned when we were talking outside, I feel like a small fish next to some very big fish here. And some folks have done a lot for our country and continuing to do a lot. So I feel very honored to be here today.
Well, I'll echo that, and thanks to all 3 of you. I feel like a very small fish next to all 3 of you, yourself included, Josh. So don't downplay that at all. What I would like to do, and this is kind of coming from, somewhat of a layman's perspective, because I know when I first started to learn about what you guys did for a career and for work, there was a lot to learn and to know about. Like, what is the wing? What are these things? And so maybe what we could do is we'll go around this way. If you could just give us kind of an overview about what do you do over at the 141st MEB? What's the mission? What's your role? And just kind of set that foundation for those folks listening who might not quite know what that is.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I do appreciate I appreciate you having me on here today. And the first time being on a podcast, so I'm sure I will stumble over many words, but I do appreciate it. Again, Lieutenant Colonel Alan Rorick. I'm the officer in charge for the 141st Maneuver Enhancement Brigade, located here in Fargo, North Dakota. Our mission in what we call the MEB, Maneuver Enhancement Brigade, is we're task organized based on for a federal mission. We're task organized to support either a division or a corps level support area. So in essence, we manage the space for the division commander, which would be a 2-star general, or we manage it for a 3-star general at the corps level. And we do all varieties, whether it's protection of the force, engineering routes, keeping routes open for those important logistical hubs that come in, and just assure the mobility within the supported area. More specifically to our brigade, we also have our state mission to the governor in support of defense support to civil authorities, or what more commonly known as state active duty. Just even this year already, you've seen a lot of our aviation assets that have been out on the west supporting the wildfires in North Dakota. Years in past, we've had events such as flooding, very well known here on the east side of the state of North Dakota, all the way up the Red River from Wahpeton or Wahpeton up to the border, really. And we've had many soldiers participate in those over the years. And then just to kind of dive down a little deeper on the brigade, we have three battalion headquarters that we have, or we basically have seat or command and control over here in the state of North Dakota, and they're located in Valley City, North Dakota, being an engineer battalion headquarters, Minot, North Dakota, being an engineer battalion headquarters, and then Bismarck, North Dakota, being a military police battalion headquarters, and then various companies that I don't need to dive too deep into on there. And each one of those have a specific mission set that is unique to the Army as that headquarters, and just command and control of whether it be MP or engineer forces, both stateside and federally, if we're called to go overseas. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do. My day-to-day is as the officer in charge. So I am the full-time representative for Colonel Kevin Miller, our brigade commander. And so because he's a traditional soldier, so you're 2 weeks in the or 2 weeks plus your just standard drill weekends. So while he's not present, I am just his representative from day to day. And then I have roughly about 100 employees that work for me throughout several locations across the state of North Dakota. So I guess that is in a rough overview, wave tops what the 141st Maneuver Enhancement Brigade is.
I appreciate that. That's very helpful. And with you, Colonel, and again, this is me just going back high level. So we have North Dakota Army National Guard and then North Dakota Air National Guard. So you want to kind of unpack your side of things, Colonel?
You got it. Thanks again, Tyler, and thanks a lot, Chamber, for allowing this opportunity to speak to everybody today. I have the distinct honor and privilege to lead the men and women of the 119th Wing. We're located on the Fargo Hector International Airport, approximately 250 acres leased on the east and southeast side of the airport, so everybody gets a picture of where we're located at. Our wing is approximately 1,200 airmen. Of that 1,200 airmen, a third of them are full-time. Our primary mission out there is to organize, administer, recruit, instruct, and train to ensure those 700 plus airmen are ready and able to support the nation, the state when needed. We're divided amongst 4 distinct groups. The first one I'll talk about is our operations group. Our operations group flies the MQ-9 Reaper, which many of you have seen flying around the Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo area. We've got a launch and recovery element associated with that, and our team's been able to participate many exercises around the world, to include here at home station. So great opportunity. We're one of 12 MQ-9 units in the Air National Guard, and we're one of those 12, 5 actually physically possess MQ-9 Reapers. So incredible honor to do that. Second group I'd like to talk about is our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance group. They provide intelligence support to numerous combatant commanders around the globe, mostly at the top secret level. I'd love to share more about that, but they do incredible work just for everybody's awareness. Next group is our medical group. They're there to ensure that our team is medically ready when the nation and state needs of them. We are looking for an optometrist, so if anybody on the air wants to serve their country, we'd love to get you in uniform and to help us out. And then our last group and our largest group is our mission support group. They're out there to protect our base. They're lights and plumbing, heating, cooling. They do everything to support our airmen and our missions at the wing. But what's unique to us, we also have a security forces squadron up at Minot Air Force Base where they're charged to protect the Minuteman missile system. So of our 1,200 strong, that's a quick overview of what we do and where we're located at.
That was a great overview. And what always shocks me about you guys up in North Fargo is it's almost like you're operating a small city in a way up there. The first time I visited, it blew my mind. I felt like I was in a city. But, I mean, you have everything going on there. You just talked about a handful of jobs. Some people might think to themselves, oh, my gosh, well, like, duh, of course they need this and they need that. They need HVAC, all of that. So we're gonna dive into that a lot more today, but it's always so shocking about how much is going on out there. So, Josh, I want to give you maybe a slightly different prompt. And so it was probably, when did we meet? Maybe a couple of months ago or so?
A couple months ago, yeah.
So I sat down with Josh when we were putting together a magazine. I went to my coworker, Abby Stife, because I was trying to come up with ideas of how can we tell the story of military and small business at the same time? Like, oh my gosh, who embodies that? And Abby brought up, she was like, oh my gosh, do you know Josh Seeley? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Tell me more about him. And so whatever, I gave you a phone call and kind of gave you my idea for the magazine, and you were like, are you sure I'm the right guy for this? And it turns out he is the perfect individual for this. We sat down for maybe 90 minutes, and you told me all about your path from basically high school until today, and it's fascinating. I know we don't have a few hours to sit here. I wish we did. But can you maybe give a brief overview of kind of how you got to where you are today? It's such a cool story. I would love if you could kind of fly through that.
Well, thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on the show. I don't know how I follow it up after Lieutenant Colonel and Colonel sharing what they do day to day, but I'll give it my shot here. So I started out, grew up Lake Park, Minnesota, just across the river. Grew up playing sports, wrestling, football. Those were my big sports. And, I was an okay athlete in high school. Graduated, had a couple offers, small, not full scholarships by any means to, play some, either wrestle locally or play some local football. And I was like, you know what? I grew up here. That's all I know. I got to get out and see the world. I was sitting down at the dinner table with my grandpa. He's like, well, and keep in mind, I got a lot of tattoos now, but I had none at the time. My grandpa was the only man in my family to have any tattoos, and he got them in the Navy. And he always told the Navy stories, and I was like, you know what? He's like, why don't you go talk to the recruiter and just see what they got to offer? I went, and I was leaving for boot camp 3 weeks later. At that time, like, I wanted to see the world. And you know what? The Navy gave me that perfect opportunity. In high school as a C&D student, I was there to play sports. I made the grades so I could play sports. While I was in the Navy, it encouraged me to seek higher education. So while I was take 1-2 classes at a time. And then, not going to lie, I seen the officers on the ship, and I'm like, man, I should have really went to school. And then I also thought, man, I should have really joined the Air Force too a couple times. But so I took a couple classes at a time. On the end of my first degree or first enlistment, I had just wrapping up my associate's degree in just general education. Re-enlisted, and it worked out. I got instructor duty on my second enlistment. And during that second enlistment, I kept going to school, ended up getting my bachelor's degree in education. So my bachelor's degree is through Southern Illinois University, which worked out great because they sent instructors out like on the military bases to teach us. Mm-hmm. And ended up getting my bachelor's degree in workforce education and development, basically like developing technical curriculum, safety training programs, stuff like that. And that was awesome because I was an instructor at the time. I mean, it all made sense. So I approached my second enlistment, the end of my second enlistment, and that was crunch time. If I re-enlisted again, I'd be up over 10. Or if I chose any of the other programs they were throwing my way, like to go officer, I would be in a big commitment, and that I would be putting in a career. And I honestly have so much respect for men and women who put in a full career. Me at the time, I was a little burnt out on traveling from here to here to here because our men and women, oh man, they sacrifice a lot. I tell you what, while I was in the Navy, I think the 2 enlistments I spent 1 Christmas at home.
Wow.
No Thanksgivings. So, I see the toll it takes on our service members, and I've been in their shoes. So I decided to get out. I decided to finish my last enlistment, transition to the civilian side. I had my bachelor's degree, and I'm sitting there weighing, okay, I got this bachelor's degree in education. I can go teach somewhere, $40,000 a year. Maybe summers off would be nice, but, diesel mechanics at the time were making $70,000 a year. So I went back and kept working as a diesel mechanic. But I had my GI Bill from the military, and that same mindset that was instilled in me in the military, like, hey, there's something to this education piece. So I enrolled at NDSU in the Masters in Business program. While I was in the Masters in Business program, my classmates are like kind of poking at me in a sense, in a good way, encouraging me. They're like, hey, man, you're a diesel mechanic. Like, a good trade. There's a high demand for what you do, and you're in a business program. What are you doing working for a company? Why didn't you start your own business? And, I honestly, I had always dreamed of owning my own business, but thought you had to be like rich. I thought you had to come from money to start it. What I ended up doing at the time, I sold my motorcycle, my enclosed trailer, sold all the toys, and invested in the business. Started off as just myself, and now we're 9 employees strong. And I know when we had talked last time, I got a little bit something to share with you right now, Tyler. I talked about one day I want to pursue law school. Well, I had applied for UND Law School. I didn't want to say anything at the time because I didn't know if I was going to get accepted or not.
Oh, my gosh. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen.
I got accepted at UND Law School
Wow.
for this fall. I'll start in August. So that's going to be a whole nother challenge while running a business with 9 employees going to law school.
Congratulations. Well, I want to get into a little bit more about Deckplate, and I think that's going to be kind of a nice segue into some workforce and recruitment type questions I want to ask you gentlemen. So we're going to get onto this break really quick, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We are here having a great military discussion today, and we have news in a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shift gears quick, and I'm going to quickly talk about the upcoming Military Appreciation Night that the Chamber has at the Red Hawks. And feel free to jump in, too, if you guys have comments. You've been there before, but this is on June 4th, so it's coming up soon. And I think the Chamber's big ask of the business community is, the Chamber is the organizer and the convener of this and kind of the logistics behind it. But really the power comes in when our business community steps up and provides these military family sponsorships. And essentially what it is, let's take DS Beverages, for example. Their big sponsorship literally provides tickets to hundreds of military members and their families. And so it's a big deal, whether it's a $50 sponsorship all the way up to thousands of dollars. It is incredible the power that does when you see a full stadium of people and their family members enjoying the night. So we have to get to news here. I told you that was going to be really quick, so we're going to do that. And we're going to come back and talk to all these guys a little bit about their workforce and recruitment efforts. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. So we'll be back after the news. Welcome back to the Chamber Link. We are just about to get into a workforce and recruitment conversation with our military leaders today. And, one thing from the Chamber's perspective, this was in 2023. Our Chamber was awarded a base enhancement grant from the North Dakota Department of Commerce. And there are a lot of goals, I would say, that our Chamber has along with that. And one of the very important ones is regional end strength, right? Making sure that we have, this is an overused phrase, but butts and seats, the people that you guys need where you need them. And so I'm curious, we'll start with the 119th Wing maybe. Can you just maybe give an overview? You kind of teased talking about HVAC and plumbing, these things that people might not think about. what are the opportunities that exist at the wing? And then if you also maybe want to give an update, if we have time, well, you can just maybe roll right into it, is how's recruitment going? Like, how are things going from your perspective? Anything to look forward to or any trends you're noticing? But go ahead, Colonel, give us a little update on workforce.
No, I definitely appreciate it. And I can't thank the Chamber enough for help us get this initiative going. Former Adjutant General Dorman challenged both the Army and the Air. Let's get to 102%. I mentioned earlier in January 2024, I have the privilege and honor to lead the 119th Wing. One of my number one priorities was recruiting. We were roughly around 93% end strength at that time. My team, we call it Team 102, and we're trying to get us up to that 102%. And I will say, in just about over 18 months, we're at 98% end strength. And how are we doing that? It's really a whole of team effort. It's getting after from our recruiters out in the community. It's our community by doing these events to tell the story about what we're doing. So doing really great on that. The second part is it's our retention rate. We're close to about 92% retention rate, which really helps from the recruiting perspective, right? Overall, we don't have to recruit all those excess numbers. All right, you mentioned all the opportunities. We have it all. We have it from doctors to dentists, dental hygienists. I mentioned our optometrist is the one. The two biggest areas that we really need some assistance on, I mentioned our 219th Security Forces Squadron up in Minot. So security forces, what we're really looking for in the western part of the state. The second part is firefighters. We're looking for that as well. Explosive ordnance disposal. But then we have a whole gamut of intelligence specialists. We have sensor operators that work our MQ-9. The second part of this is once we get them in, this is how we really recruit to our officer side of things. So just for a point of reference, just over 80% of our current officers in the wing are prior enlisted members, myself included on that. So a lot of people go, I want to be an MQ-9 pilot. Well, the best way to do this is to become an enlisted member of be a part of our team, and then apply for some of these different opportunities. So we have great opportunities, a lot of cash incentives, either for some bonuses and all those things just to get people into the door. But we're doing really, really well on recruiting side of things, and I'm really happy. And the team's told me over and over again we're going to hit 100% by the end of the fiscal year. So hopefully we can celebrate in October with that milestone.
All right, that's the goal. I'm going to write that down, October. And I wonder too, this is more so just out of my own curiosity, when people, let's say somebody does start feeling around and they want to enlist, or they approach you and ask like, hey, could I maybe think about this? Do you find that there are any misconceptions? Like, do people still think that they're just going to, get an M1 Grand thrown at them and they're out in the front lines and you have to kind of twist that way of thinking? Or is it not so much anymore? People are nervous about boot camp or going to war. I don't know. Like, are there any misconceptions that we got to get people over yet?
I'll start with that and I'll let Lieutenant Colonel Rorick finish it off. But the biggest one is, a lot of people are going, well, what does this really entail? Yeah. What does this look like? And I will tell you, our recruiters do a really good job of explaining that. I spent this last year going into Cheyenne High School to their aviation class, talking about my aviation journey. And I bring a recruiter with me, and she breaks it down even further about, hey, you go to get your physical. It's just like how many of you play sports, and it's just like a sports physical. And then basic training is all about that. Yes, there's the yelling and there's the other things that are going on about it, but really all that it's doing is just try to make an airman out of you, and then trying to get everybody in the baseline of knowledge and then moving forth. But there's some incredible incentives, right? A lot of it's school. We're very lucky and fortunate in North Dakota with our state tuition assistance. We've got a lot of cash incentives on some of these other things. But the other one that where we get them, once we get them through their first enlistment, it's the medical care. It's sure. the medical, the TRICARE Reserve Select. That's a huge incentive for our members. And those, especially with small businesses, health insurance is very expensive. And this is just a great opportunity for our members who wear the uniform, that they're able to get that benefit for their whole families.
Yeah, that's a great benefit. And sometimes as young adults, we don't always think about those things right away. And so, but once you get enlisted, you start to learn, how the world works, right? Even as we age as people and learn about things, that is an incredible benefit. So that is huge. How are things on the Army side for you?
So from the Army's perspective, much like the air side, we came into really out of 23, looking into 24 and beyond, to increase the amount of recruits and that are coming into our formation. We've been hovering, from end strength perspective, right around that 95 to 97%. Throughout probably the last couple of years. I know in April here, our recruit and retention battalion had one of their best months since probably before COVID timeframe, and so definitely some positive momentum on that side with our young recruits coming into our formation, as well as retention has been really good in the last couple of years to some extent. I mean, some units will have a little bit higher turnover than others, and that's okay, as long as we are seeing more come in than go. That's always a good thing. And I'll caveat, from a misconception standpoint, our recruiters, same. They do a really good job of explaining the process, but I think one of the big things that I've noticed is, and we do a lot of events where we invite schools out from the high school to collegiate level, or just even the community. And sometimes just having a non-recruiter or a soldier tell the story, they connect a little bit better on what exactly the expectation is. And then you get to hear it from a subject matter on what their actual job entails inside of the Army, because we have, we had our engineers from whether it's construction to combat engineering. So whether you're building roadways, building structures, plumbing, electrical, we have it all. And we also have logistics, and we have logistics, ordnance. We're working on equipment or maintenance slice. We have cooks. We have signal. Working on whether it's hardware, software systems. We have cyber professionals that we're definitely in need of as we roll through it. Human resources. I mean, just wide gamut. I will always say, we are looking for JAGs as well. I heard somebody might be going to law school down the road, but no pressure here today. And then medical wise, they're so critical to our mission, whether it's our docs, our physician's assistants, dentists, our behavioral health officers as well. They're all critical just to make sure our soldiers are seeing and getting the care that they need, as well as making sure that they're medically ready to do any mission that we may be required to do, both in state and out of state. From the one thing I always tell our young soldiers coming in is you can't stop time, right? So at the end of the day, your basic training, your advanced individual training has a date that it ends on it, and at some point you come back to the unit. And our recruit sustainment company, they do a really good job of preparing our soldiers for basic training, what it's going to look like. And so to get them through that and then get them back into the formation has been pretty great to see, and that's been going on for a number of years. And it's really increased our number of success rate through the basic training pipeline. From workforce opportunities, I mentioned, and I'm going to take this just a couple different ways. So we have really two to three career paths as I see it. You can come in as a traditional soldier and just do your 2 weeks of annual training, and then you're just monthly drills, and more if you want to. I mean, because there is opportunities out there. I always say it's the greatest side hustle, because you have. You have I don't know too many part-time jobs, right? That it's part-time, full-time, that actually gets you health benefits and pays for your school and goes through all of those. Some of those financial hardships that some of our youth might see coming when they get into the college era, if they do see it. But even trade schools, we see a lot of our formations go through trade schools, and we're actually, I think one of the misnomers is the Army's uneducated, but it's not true. We're probably, and I wouldn't even say probably, we're the most educated force probably in history today. And I don't have the data to back me up, but I can remember even when I came into the service. You know, the amount of college degrees that were out there are nowhere near where they are today. And so with the benefits that come, I mean, we're always pushing for further education, because education and leadership are what the soldiers are going to bring back to the community, the business, the communities that they're in. And we're here to help provide those opportunities. So I can't say enough. I mean, for working with both the Military Affairs Committee and the Chamber of Commerce here in Fargo, North Dakota, it's been phenomenal. And just to get that message out there and tell our story, because everybody has a different story and a different career path that they have, and every one of them is equally important. And to hear it from somebody with a, you know, I'm going to say non-biased, just what their experience is, can mean all the difference. And so I always say, if you have even interested in service, and it doesn't matter if you want to join, you're thinking Army National Guard, Air National Guard, Air Force, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, you know, they're all out there. And just stopping in and talking to a recruiter and getting the information can mean all the difference. And maybe it is for you, maybe it's not. But at least take a look at it and see what options are out there, and how it can be beneficial to both you and the military service as we put people in our formation. So I feel like I bantered on for a while there, so
that was good.
I will yield the floor.
That was great banter. And yeah, I can't stand some of those misconceptions, like the Army being uneducated. Like, who knows where that even stems from, right? But yeah, the tech and the knowledge that you guys have is seriously shocking. You know what else kind of peeves me? When people say they don't like Nickelback. It's like, who doesn't like Nickelback? When did this become a meme all of a sudden and fun to not like them? Okay, we're on our last break, and then we'll be back. I want to kind of pass it back over to Josh and get a little bit of a business perspective on all of this. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Chamber Link. So the Colonel and Lieutenant Colonel just gave us fantastic updates about the workforce and recruitment and how things are going from their end. And it made me think about, as you guys are explaining some of the jobs, it's well over $100 million of economic impact that the North Dakota National Guard brings into just this community here, the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo, well, the Fargo-West Fargo community, which is mind-blowing. You think about these part-time jobs. Well, they also have jobs in the community. They also have families. They go to school. They go to work. They go to the grocery store. It's really phenomenal to watch that ripple effect. And so when I think about the business community, Josh, you're clearly an employer. You have nine employees?
9 full-time employees.
And so I'm a little curious just what that landscape is like, because I think you have guardsmen or women on your staff. And if you maybe have a couple of thoughts of how the business community or employers listening to this can ratchet up to be even one step better, a military-friendly employer, if you have any advice for any folks listening, because you do a good job at what you do.
Well, thank you, Tyler. With our 9 full-time employees, 4 of us have served or are currently serving. Leaf, our service manager, he is currently serving in the Army National Guard. And, you know, when he worked for me before he joined, and he approached me, said, hey, I'm thinking about joining the Army National Guard. Are you going to be okay with that? And I looked at him and said, I will be proud if you do that. Like that, to me, anybody who's willing to give up their weekends, 2 weeks a year, I mean, he gives up a lot of his free time to serve, and I have the utmost respect for that. And I know the battles, the stuff he goes through, the drills and the demands of the military. So I'm very proud and impressed with what he does. But I'll tell you what, as a career path for him, I mean, it's twofold. They send him to training, and he's a diesel mechanic in the Army National Guard. So, you know, he's got some skills and some training that some of my other guys don't have, and it makes him a key employee. And leadership, like, let's be real, the leadership skills learned in the military, I mean, they are true leadership skills. I mean, I don't think there's a TED Talk or a conference you could go to that'll teach you leadership skills like the military does. And I think that's something employers right now really need, are people who lead from the ground up. You know, people that lead by example, people that show up on time, show up early, are, you know, as we called it in the Navy, squared away. It's huge. And the veterans on my team, they bring that with them too. And, you know, I've got got a lot of great civilian employees too, but there's a difference, a huge difference. So Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel, if you guys got any folks, diesel mechanics looking for a full-time job, love to have them.
The finalist, Small Business of the Year, Deckplate Diesel, send them that way. Well, this is maybe a good segue when we think about how the business community collaborates with you two individuals and other people on your staff too, because it is truly a team effort. I mean, the chamber needs to be at the table, we need to do our job, etc. The list goes on. So from your perspective, Colonel, I'll start with you. What are some things that business leaders can do to help elevate what you all are doing at the wing or at the Army Guard?
Great question. I call it the partnership. So a lot of it you mentioned earlier with the Hooligans, Happy Hooligans. I call it, I want our team to exemplify the Hooligan way. One of those ways is partnerships. It's imperative to our success. And I'd be remiss to mention it, but right now we have over 160 of our airmen that are deployed overseas, serving overseas for the next 6+ months. So I can't thank our business leaders that support those airmen and their families. I can't thank the universities for helping support those airmen while they're away and taking care of them. So thanks Chamber and thanks community for supporting all of them. One of the ways is through the Military Affairs Committee. Meets monthly. It's a great way. I know Colonel Rorick and I and some of the other military provide updates.
And
what
this
are we?
is the chamber committee that you're talking?
The chamber one.
Yep.
Through the Military Affairs Committee. Secondly, the employer support of the Guard Reserve. They host when we provide awards. They were just out at the wing, and we were able to give out some awards to Josh and his team, and then also to give an update of what we do in the wing to be part of that. The other part is we have an honorary commander program, and I've got some incredible honorary commanders that are part of our team. So one that represents me is Mr. Steve Blazik, works for a local bank. He's the wing honorary commander. Miss Shannon Full from the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber president. She's our mission support group honorary commander. Darren Hall, who works for the Fargo Jet Center, is our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance group honorary commander. Miss Jackie Hake, who works at Sanford, is our medical group honorary commander. So being part of those Military Affairs Committee, being part of the employer support of the Guard and Reserve, and then also if you're willing to go next, the next step is being an honorary commander. So thank you community for supporting all of our airmen and what they do day in and day out.
Well, thank you for that shout out. And gentlemen, I told you this was going to go quickly. We're out of time. So we're going to have a part 2 at some point, I'm telling you, because time flies. So thank each and every one of you, for being here today, and thank you for your service. And that's not just coming from me. That's on behalf of our Chamber of Commerce, our community, all of our business leaders, our chamber members. So thank you. Thank each and every one of you. And with that, we're going to see all of you on June 4 at Military Appreciation Night. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.